In this video, I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks on how to start your acrylic design for your 3D illusion lamp for Project 138. So in this here, I've got my example. I have our Batesville Bulldog as our design here, so you can be able to turn that to the front. I've got it set to an acrylic material, and just going to kind of show you how I set this up within Fusion. So I'm going to go ahead and open up to a new design file. And when I do that, I'm going to start by creating a new component. And I'm just going to go ahead and name this acrylic because that's going to be the only piece we have for our 3D illusion lamp. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new sketch on the front work plane here. And what I usually like to do to start this out is I like to create a 2-point rectangle. And I like to go ahead and over here in the line type, I like to toggle it to construction. I'm going to constrain it to the origin, and our size constraints are going to be 6 inches by 6 inches. So first off, I would highly encourage you to set up something like this because as you bring in pictures or anything like that, you're not really sure of the scaling. So it's going to help provide you and kind of give you a reference point of how big or how small your pictures are when you bring them in. So like here I can go to Insert. I can bring in Canvas, which will bring in an image. I can, find an image on my computer somewhere. So I end up having our Bulldog, and here I got to select a work plane. I'm going to just choose the same work plane here. And now I can go ahead and I can grab this little grip here to move it, and then I can also grab the corner to resize it. So here's our Batesville Bulldog. You can see it's backwards. So if I look over here in the canvas, I'm going to go ahead and check the box to say it's selectable. And then also down here, I can go ahead and I can choose to horizontally flip it, which now you can see we're in the right positioning. Let me depress the sketch palette there. So either that I can flip it horizontally or I can flip it vertically. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab this. I'm going to size it up. And then I can go through, I can also grab by the arrow points to kind of help position it. So again, I just want to go through and try to provide, and if I grab this little grip, I can kind of get it a little bit better placed. So this will go through and put our image in. One thing that might be helpful is I'm going to go ahead and say OK to place our canvas there. But I'm going to go ahead and go up here to also select another 2-point rectangle. And right along the bottom edge of this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw this out. Now, in our sketch palette, you're going to see, once I go through and expand this back out, is if you draw this and you get dashed lines, that means you've got construction lines still turned on. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can grab this other line on the rectangle, and I need to toggle that back off to that way I don't get construction lines happening there. So the other way is you can do is when you start to draw, make sure your construction lines are not highlighted blue, and then you'll get solid blue lines there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. One thing is the tab that will fit down into our LED lamp base is going to go through and be pretty important. So here, if I go ahead and hit the dimension tool, the height of it is going to be 9/16 of an inch, and then the width of it should be 3 3/16. And you're going to notice that for the most part it's going to constrain the sketch, but I'm going to go up here to constraints, grab the midpoint, select the construction line, select the bottom edge of the rectangle. That'll make sure that's directly in the center, making sure it's right inside of our rectangle. Now if I want to go through and select my canvas, if I want to edit it again, I'm going to have to select it, right click, and choose Edit Canvas. And now maybe I want to go through and maybe drag this down, and this is what I did, is I want it to kind of pass or be like right kind of interfering with my rectangle, so that way it's somewhat connected. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can notice that I'm well within the boundary lines now, and I can go ahead and I can say OK, and that will give me a little bit of a basis. That's kind of how I started out with my 3D illusion lamp. So usually what I like to do is sometimes I like to take a series of either lines or arcs. So here if I go to a 3-point arc, I can usually click, and then I can use the image here, click there, and then I set the curvature. And then really what I got to do is if I zoom in, I can go through and start to trace a little bit. And I don't have to worry about constraining my sketch too much, but this is just going to give me the boundary. And I know I'm going to run out of the boundary here a little bit, but that's okay. So that's not too much to impact that. So I just really want to give you an idea of what would be roughly about the size that you would need to go through. So even if you go outside of that a little bit, that's okay. So those lines are just there just to kind of help you with maintaining those. So that's really kind of something that you can do, and you're going to notice this is going to get filled up really quickly. So you can always do different sketches to do different components or different parts of your design depending on how you want. Another tool that really hasn't been shown yet, if you go to Create, go down to Spline and choose Fit Point Spline. This one you got to be very careful with, but what you can do is you can actually click and set a series of points that will actually go through and kind of fit to the curvature. So you can see here, you know, as I go along, it doesn't quite always respond always the way that you want, but it usually does pretty well. And once I go through and I right click and say OK, it'll set the curve in. I can still kind of click and drag and manipulate some of these points if I need, but usually what I like to do sometimes is if I know I need, like here, like if I want a straight line, I can just draw a line between, and I can always use the trim tool and trim away what parts I don't need. If I click off of that, I can see now those splines, you'll get those little green lines which are showing you kind of some of those points there, the tangency points. But that is a couple of tools that you can use, a few tools that you can use to go through and help you create your 3D illusion.